Hello, my friends. All right, so I just came back from my morning hike. I actually made this video. I might use some pieces of it, but I filmed this discussion or just me talking about these things that have been on my mind before I went on my hike, and I was a wreck. And so yeah, now I'm back home and I'm like, okay, no more tears. Because this past week has been, it's just been like devastatingly sad. I'm wearing this Fleetwood Mac t-shirt for a woman named Leslie that I knew who lived in Maui. She didn't die from the fires, but I met this woman, a very, very, very close, my old best friend of mine, got married on Oahu, and she was, I believe, her aunt. And I met her just this one time, but her spirit was just, she was so vibrant. She used to tour with Fleetwood Mac. She was a roadie with them, I guess, something like that. And she was just amazing, and I just loved her. And we stayed in touch on Facebook. I'm not the biggest Facebook fan, but I have to say, like, this is, I feel like, the beauty of what that app could be. Is like, so we just stayed in touch, and she had health issues. She knew about me having Parkinson's. She'd always like heart my posts and just write sweet comments, and she was just always so supportive and just such a beautiful, like, lovely woman, and just like inside and out. And anyways, I posted on her Facebook page during the fires on Maui, and I didn't know exactly where she lived on the island, and so I just said, I'm sending you my love, and I hope everything's, good. And then a couple of days later, I went to check and follow up, and she hadn't updated anything, but there were all of these messages that basically made it sound like she had died, and I was just like, oh my God. And so I called my friend whose wedding I met her at, and she was crying, and I knew right away. I was like, oh no. And I was crying too because I was upset, and she told me just this devastating news that she had had some really serious gastrointestinal issues that she was dealing with for a long time, and she just decided, that she couldn't handle the suffering anymore, and decided, that it was time to end it, and she took her life. And it's like, and I've talked about this before. See, and I can't even talk about it without like getting emotional, because it's just there's a video I have, it's like Laugh At Me, With Me, or something like that, where I talk about the closing of a restaurant and feeling like I'm like losing a friend, an old friend. And I'm definitely, we've all lost somebody who knew her, the people who knew her, just this amazing woman. And people didn't get the chance to say goodbye to her. And I can't even imagine what she might have been going through in making that decision, and yeah, it's just, it's sad. And so, like, losing an old friend, poker, and just loss, and Parkinson's, I think why it's something like this theme that I feel like, like philosophically, emotionally, I'm always struggling with. And I think it comes from so this year will be 10 years that I've had my diagnosis, and it's like, I feel like every day, my days are pretty much the same, and I'm so thankful. My goodness, I'm so thankful for all that I have and that I'm still able to do. But there's like, it's like one of the ways I would describe this disease, it's like this continuing, like, kind of like oscillation between like normal and not normal. And then your not normal is maybe you're dyskinetic, or maybe you're just off and moving slowly, or whatever your not normal you is. And it's like so it's like you have yourself, and then you don't. It's you're normal, and then you're not normal. So it's like you're kind of all throughout the day just shifting, back and forth. And it's like it's like life itself is a reminder that nothing is static at all. It's as much as we crave and want stability, and in our lives. I mean, and you know, and it can be there, but it just feels like sometimes there's just so much chaos and loss and change and disruption, and it doesn't mean that all of it is bad either. You know, I'm just struck by, like, you know, so for example, the woman whose wedding I went to on Oahu, where I met Leslie, her name is Nicole. She was an old neighbor of mine. I met her the first year that I was when I was going to UC Berkeley in 2005. She was my neighbor. She was a PhD student, and she, you know, she is a mycologist. She's just amazing and brilliant. And her story about when she first met me is she opened up her apartment door, like we shared. You know, I was apartment 6 and she was apartment 7, and she said she looks out the door and she sees this woman, me, collecting earthworms from the driveway in puddles because I didn't want cars to roll over them and squish them. And she just, yeah, we've totally fell in love, and she was a great friend of mine. But she got married and she has 2 kids now, and she's on Oahu, and super happy, and I'm happy for her. But I no longer have that best friend. I mean, we still talk, but not that much, you know. And it's just, it's a part of life, right? That people come and go in and out of our lives, and I guess all we can do really is, you know, we can, I guess, mourn the loss of their friendship and them being in your life, and then try to find, you know, and keep the beauty and the love that they filled us with during that time. How, you know, they've changed us for the better. I mean, yeah, it's like we're just always in this constant state of flux. And I feel like Parkinson's, it's like the fast track to everything. It's like the fast track to getting old. It's the fast track of, like, realizing, you know, and just being like really steeped and living in just these dramatic changes, you know, every day throughout our lives, you know, just kind of like, yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyways, yeah, it's been an intense week. I don't know how anyone else has been feeling, but, and then with the poker thing, this is the last thing that, you know, I want to end on. And again, and it's still tied to this, like, loss. It's, you know, yesterday it was like a long poker session, and this morning I started to think, I'm like, you know, maybe I'm not a poker player anymore. Maybe, like, I'm not a restaurant owner anymore. I hate that word. Oh, restaurateur. I hate it. You know, I'm not a restaurant owner anymore. Maybe I'm just not able to play poker like I used to be able to. Because what's interesting is, and I kind of liked it in the beginning, but when I would get dyskinetic at the poker table, you know, you're always looking for reads on your opponents, you know, and I think that people are always just like, God, like, what is going on with this chick? But no one has ever said anything to me at the poker table, and, like, it's a mean world, actually, because, you know, you're fighting for every chip that's out there, but everyone's always been so nice. And I was at the casino yesterday, where basically the whole inspiration for the Wiggles project began. That's the place that I got kicked out of. I have a video if you haven't seen it, you know, on my channel. But yeah, that was inspiration for all of this. It was that experience. But yesterday I actually stopped at by one of the door guys, and I was like, "Are you worried about me?" Because I was having a cigarette again, of course. And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "It's either, you know, we wonder if it's medical or if you're on drugs." I'm like, "No, you know, I've got Parkinson's." And this is an interesting thing for me too. It's like, I've got my Wiggles Project t-shirt on yesterday, and I wore it specifically, like, for people. It's like, just Google it, and, you know, it should come up. But anyways, it's like, no, I'm not on drugs. I'm playing a poker tournament. Ooh, and then this is just a little side note. Someone was sitting at our table, and security comes up to this guy, and comes right up to this guy, and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, did you drive a Tesla?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." And then the guy had parked his Tesla in the charging station for the chairman of the tribe. So he had to, like, he tried to actually get out of it. He was like, "Well, can I move it, like, in an hour?" And the security guy's like, "No, you have to move it now." But what was so amazing to me was that their cameras are so good that they knew who drove that car. It was just like, wow, and where he was. But anyways, So back to the poker thing, like maybe I'm not that person anymore. Because what ended up happening was like, I struggled for a little bit. It's a really hard game, and that's what I love about it, but it's a really hard game. And so I came back, I mean, I just was crushing it. All of a sudden I had like 250K in tournament chips, not cash chips, it's different. And like, I mean, oh my God, it was like one of the biggest stacks out of like, 300 people. I mean, oh, it just felt so good. And then it just slowly, like one bad decision after another, it just slowly started to slip away. And the dyskinesias for yesterday, they were more exhausting than normal. I think just because of also just the environment. Like it is a very intense and focused environment. So I played, I think, for about 6-7 hours straight. You get 15-minute breaks in between. Got one 40-minute break at the end, and then when I went back from after that break, that's when I lost, but and I was out of the tournament. But yeah, just saying goodbye to like our former selves. It's a really hard thing, and it's like figuring out then who you are now too, with this disease. And I'm working on the ending of my book. Everything just kind of seems to be like about the end right now, and the meaning of things, and I don't know. So I'm just like, I'm in this kind of loss, this place of a lot of loss, and my heart is just aching for the loss. And then again, I'm trying to find that space as always where, I keep the love and the goodness with me, and not the bad. But yesterday was just exhausting. The dyskinesias wore me out, and then just what I was just talking about, keeping that smile and trying to find the good out of things, it's like, it's exhausting, actually. Yesterday was especially draining. And so, I don't know. I always dreamt that, like, the first woman who could win, like, a World Series of Poker championship, the main event could be me. A woman with Parkinson's. It would be amazing, but it also, I don't know, I have to admit, it's physically, mentally, maybe I'm not capable anymore, because what happened, how I ended up eventually losing all those chips was like I just kind of made these series of bad decisions, and then I made the worst poker call ever, in my opinion. And I knew better. I knew better at that moment too, and yet I did it. It was a very strange and surreal moment of like self-sabotage. It was as if, it's like as if I wanted to lose, just so I could claw my way back out of the pit that I put myself in or something. I don't know. It was an intense day. So anyways, it's all good. I'm fine. But, to all my old friends who, I'm not any longer in touch with, but, I want to say thank you for all that you've taught me. Because, I mean, everybody that we come across in our life touches us in a special way. And, whatever the reason is that they're not, with us anymore, we are no doubt changed by them and our paths having crossed. I'm thankful for that. I'm so thankful for the friends who I'm still in touch with. I mean, I've got, maybe on two hands, I could say, like I've got a really good girlfriend of mine here that I've known over 20 years. I've known her since I came to California, and she's amazing. She knows who she is. Thank you to her. Her name's Micah. And my friend MJ in Chicago. I love you. My friend Heather in Chicago. I love you guys so much. My friend Chad from 8th grade, who I used to play Legend of Zelda with, and I pierced his ears twice. His mom was like a librarian, a religious librarian. She thought I was just like an evil hellion. She thought I was so much trouble, and I was. But, and I still am. But, no, Chad, thank you. You still have to come out and visit me in California. And, yeah, there's a few more that are out there, but I'm just so appreciative for the people who are still in my life, and that I'm still friends with Nicole, you, and I'm so sorry about Leslie. Yeah, so the people who are in your life, love them and be kind. and ask them how they're doing, listen, cherish them, and yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Thank you, as always.